Hey, remember that time we both were trying to decide if a gaming laptop was worth the splurge, and you were worried you'd end up with a machine that looks cool on paper but can't keep up with the games you love? I'm in the same spot right now, sitting in front of a laptop that's trying to convince me it can replace my desktop for everything from heist shooters to 4K video editing. If you're on the fence about the MAINGEAR Super 16, keep listening. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the biggest question people have with ultra-high-end laptops is whether the extra horsepower actually translates to a smoother, more future-proof experience, or if it's just a marketing gimmick. The Super 16 packs a 16-inch 2560160 GSENC panel that can swing up to 200 Hz. In other words, you get a larger screen than the usual 15.6-inch gaming laptops, plus a resolution that sits nicely between Full HD and true 4K. On paper that sounds like a dream, but the real test is how it feels after a few hours of play. I ran a few sessions in titles that stressed different parts of the system. In a fast-paced shooter like Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 2, the RTX 5070 Ti GPU kept the frame count steady around 110 frames per second at high settings. That's well above the 200 Hz refresh, so the display actually delivered fluid motion without any noticeable stutter. In a more texture-heavy game like Cyberpunk 2077, the same GPU held around 70 frames per second at ultra-high with ray tracing turned on, which is still a comfortable experience thanks to the high refresh rate. What matters here is that the laptop isn't forcing you down to low settings to stay fluid, it can genuinely keep up with modern titles. The CPU is an Intel Core Ultra 9275HX, a 24-core, 24-thread beast that feels more like a desktop processor than a laptop chip. I used it for a couple of days while streaming my gameplay to Twitch, and the CPU never hiccuped when I switched from the game to the OBS overlay. Even when I opened Photoshop to tweak a thumbnail between streams, the multitasking felt smooth. That kind of headroom is a real advantage if you're someone who wants to game, stream, and maybe do a bit of creative work on the same machine. Now, RAM and storage are where the Super 16 really leans into its no compromises angle. With 64 GB of DDR5 memory, you can have multiple demanding applications open without any slowdowns. I ran a batch of Chrome tabs, a Discord voice channel, OBS, and the game itself, and there was no lag when swapping between them. The 4TB SSD is split across two NVMe drives, which means you have ample room for a growing library of games, plus all the video files you might generate while streaming. The read/write speeds are fast enough that loading times in most games were under the usual 10-second mark, sometimes even under 5 seconds. All that power, though, comes with a few trade-offs. The laptop weighs just under 6 pounds, which is lighter than many desktop replacement rigs but still noticeable if you plan to carry it around campus or the coffee shop daily. The metal top case is solid, no flex when you press down on the keyboard, but it also adds to that weight. Battery life, unsurprisingly, is short. In a mixed workload test, some gaming, some browsing, I got roughly 1.5 hours before needing to plug back in. If you need a truly portable device that can go a full workday on battery, this isn't it. Thermal performance is another point worth mentioning. The cooling system uses a low-friction XL fan design, and under full load the laptop stayed around 80 C on the CPU and 75 C on the GPU. Those temps are high, but they're within Intel and Nvidia's operating ranges, and the fans didn't get loud enough to drown out game audio. If you're sensitive to fan noise, you'll notice a low whirring after a while, especially during intensive rendering or when the RTX 5070 Ti is pushing a lot of ray tracing. Who should buy this? If you're a serious gamer who also dabbles in streaming or content creation, and you want a single machine that can replace a desktop tower, the Super 16 is a solid match. It shines for anyone who needs that extra RAM for heavy multitasking and a massive SSD for an ever-growing game library. The 200 Hz GSENC panel is a treat for competitive players who rely on ultra-smooth motion to gain an edge. Also, if you're comfortable paying a premium for a laptop that feels more like a workstation, the value is there. Who should skip it? If you travel a lot and need a laptop that can survive long flights, airport lounges, or commute without a power outlet, the short battery life and weight make it less ideal. Likewise, if you only play older or less demanding games, the RTX 5070 Ti and massive RAM are probably overkill. You could get similar performance in a cheaper 15-inch model. Finally, budget-conscious shoppers should note that the price reflects the top-tier components. You'll be paying a premium for the combination of a 64GB RAM stamp and 4 TB.